I always find it very interesting, to say the very least, to learn about what's new with our friends at USDA and on the grading front. We are extremely fortunate to have with us today Chad Nelson and Dr. Derek Vogt, who are employed by the United States Department of Agriculture, and they're going to talk to us about some of the things as it relates to grading. So with that, who's going first? Both?
I'm going to go first.
Okay, Derek, Dr. Vogt will go first, and let's give him a nice warm welcome to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I think hopefully we picked on a few topics that we've been working on over the last year, and that I think relate to some of the things that you all are part of, and actually some of this, some requests from the association and some input that we'll use from this group going forward here. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about my role, I guess, at USDA. Ag Marketing Service is to work with technology providers, camera companies that want to come to us and gain our approval to use their instruments in augmenting the assignment of our official U.S. beef grades. And maybe just to spell this out a little bit, when we say augmenting, we don't have a process where we approve a camera and then that camera can be used at anywhere, place, and time to assign a grades on their own. But we do have the process where those grades can be approved, and then with the oversight of USDA employees in the plants, that suggestion from the camera is reviewed by graders. And then if the grader agrees, which happens roughly 96% of the time, that grade stays with that carcass as the instrument predicted, and the beef gets stamped and marketed that way. And so over the course of the last year, we've had more interest or more improvement in the technology for being approved than we've had in the last 10 years. So it's been a busy year for us on that side, collecting a lot of data with these companies. So we have three companies: Global Meat Imaging company based in Fort Collins, Colorado. They are, I would say, the distributor of some of the technology that's developed by the MIJ group in Japan. Secondly, MEQ Camera is an Australia-based company. And I'll show you some more of everybody's cameras here. And then the JBT Morel is the most widely used camera across the country, and so this is some of their upgrades that they've made to their system. So first one here is a Global Meat Imaging camera. It's a cell phone based camera that has a hood with a light source to it. Fairly portable, doesn't need to be connected to any wires or electrical source, got its own battery pack included as part of it. And we've approved, they've met all the requirements for marbling score. We're continuing to work with them on refinements for fat thickness and yield grade, but preliminarily it also looks very good for ribeye area. So this is one that we just sent out their approval letter a couple months ago, and I think we have hopefully more good things to see from this company. Next, we have the MEQ camera. Again, here it's a cell phone based technology. They've added in a second camera as part of an add-on to the cell phone that's there, and that provides a 3D image to help correct the geometrical distance between the camera and the ribeye so that they get a very accurate reading of the ribeye and fat thickness. The other interesting thing on this camera as you watch it run here is it uses a AI algorithm in the background to help analyze the video. So they're actually processing video to find when the camera takes the most ideal image of that carcass. And once it finds it, then it populates the measurements and sends it forward in the database. So kind of a unique design and process that they've went through. They've made the approval for all marbling score, ribeye, fat thickness, and yield grade. And we're in the process of doing final approvals in a couple plants with them, and we're hoping that we could have a couple plants in the US using this technology by the end of the year. The third camera, again, this is the most widely used camera in all the plants. This is based on a German technology, and for the most part, the look of this camera is very much similar to the current camera they have in use. They've just enhanced their ribeye tracing algorithms by using the latest AI image analysis techniques. And in addition to that, they've added additional laser lines. As you can see in the lower right-hand corner here, they've added additional laser lines that also helps them correct for the distance of the camera to the ribeye in case the operator doesn't place it completely flat on the ribeye. So again, we'll probably see some of these cameras get converted in the plants that are already using their technology by the end of the year here. I guess switching topics a little bit, this is a topic that's all near and dear to all of you. In the last year, we've worked on updating some of our marbling pictures, our photograph references that the graders use across the country. And in the process of that, we've had a very abundant marbling score, a fourth category within prime in the standards, but we've never had a photo for that. And so in the last year, we did select that photo and get that published. The three images on the right-hand side are new images, and that's why they look a little bit different than the photo for the low minimum amount of prime. So I think that photo was created and published in 80s, so it's been a little while, so those photos have been updated. And that's another process we do have going on. We are going to go back and over the course of the next year, update the photographs for our other marbling scores. But for this group, I thought it was most appropriate to look at the prime grades. And you know, late this summer, we did receive a request from Jerry with a request for us to investigate looking to add additional marbling scores to the prime grade. As we know, you see a fair number of Wagyu cattle that will display marbling above our current highest marbling score. And we know that presents an opportunity, agreed that presents an opportunity to try to use our continuous grading system across that full range of cattle that and marbling scores that might exist. And so we've been doing some work trying to prepare for that request. And as part of that, we will still need to take input from this group and the association on how many of those marbling scores will be useful, how much degree of separation may need to exist between those pictures. And so the little bit of research we've done so far, we compared back to some of the instruments that had predictions for percent IMF, and we plotted out where our existing marbling scores fall for prime. And so at a prime, slab 0, our minimum amount of prime, represents this first dot, which I think corresponds, a little hard here from the angle, I think is around 13.2 for this data set on IMF. But it looks like our marbling scores, the 4 that we have currently, step up at an increment of about 3% IMF for each one of those cards. And so if we continued that same process, it looks like we might need to add 3 additional marbling scores to cover up to 30% IMF. And so I'll go back to this slide a little bit, because as you can see, once you get more and more marbling, it gets to be harder and harder to visually find the differences between those. But this is one thing. We will publish what we call a request for information in the Federal Register, and go through comment period from the country. Interested parties are welcome to submit information, ideas, suggestions through that. And then also along with that, what should we call them? What should their name be? What is useful for everyone here to help market that from an official USDA naming standpoint, and what resonates with the marketplace or consumers to have those called. And so that process, RFI, we're hoping to have that out by the end of October or so. We'll take input there. Basis that input that we receive across the country, we'll come up with some proposals, draft proposal, submit those back out, and then also then go through another public comment period before we finalize those. So anyway, we're excited to participate that, and those changes are happening because of your association here. So we don't have the request published yet, but when we do, we'll make sure we send it to the staff here, Hannah and Jerry, and they'll pass that back out to whoever might be interested here. So. We won't have the names done in October. The first one is to receive everybody's suggestions about how many categories we might need to have, what the names might be, and then we'll take everybody's input, see if we can synthesize that into a draft, and that comment on the finalization won't happen until probably mid-year next year. Happy to answer more questions on that later, and now I'll turn it over to Chad for a couple other topics.
Just to back up a second on the RFI, the request for information, that'll be posted on the Federal Register. So that's going to be a defined comment period. We've got 60 days right now. So if it opens late October, it'll be through the end of the year essentially. But we'll share a link to that Federal Register comment period with the association, so anybody will have access to it. Here on the screen is the live animal specification with the American Wagyu Association. Live animal specifications are essentially defined by the associations. AMS uses these for certified beef programs. We've got a list of them on our website. I can't remember exactly if there's 8 or 9 live animal specifications for different breeds. So this is the top portion of that page. The bottom portion breaks out the requirements for what those breed designations are. Each breed, like I said, defines their own. Each breed looks completely different. They may be similar, or they may be completely different. This is a portion of a guidance document from FSIS. So FSIS, our sister agency, they approve product labels, beef product labels. This is their definition that they use for guidance. So for a breed claim, if you're going to put Angus on a package, you have to have something to back it up. If you're going to put Wagyu on your meat packages, this is what they use as guidance. Now, if they don't have a live animal specification, which I just showed you. If they don't have this defined, there's breeds of cattle that don't have it defined. We do have a couple new ones this year that's probably more breed associations are being involved for marketing purposes for their members. So this is just kind of a generic. So if there's not a breed association or a live animal spec with a breed association, this is the fallback. So I just want to clarify, and FSIS will back that up. This is what they're going to use for any breed claims that come in. So if you're claiming to put Wagyu on a product and it's FSIS inspected, you go through FSIS for labels. They approve those labels to be put on that product. And they're just approving it to make sure they've had a lot of consumer pushback. How do they prove these things? So it's just truth in labeling is what it is. Here's our website. If you go to that website, it has all of the live animal specifications that we have, along with 165 roughly certified beef programs. And GE 162 authentic certified Wagyu is on that list. Another piece of grading service that we offer is the remote grading program. This is essentially at small or lockers, small plants or lockers. We have a broad section. We're crossing 28 states right now, includes Hawaii. 225 carcasses is kind of our average for a week, 11 to 1,200 a month. So it's growing in popularity. From the inception of it, 13,000 carcasses graded through this program. We also offer certified programs throughout that, if there's a request for that. And there's the website. If you just go to ams.usda.gov, you can search and you can find all this information from the certified programs to any information on grading standards or the remote grading program. I'm going to try a short video here.
By utilizing this voluntary service is well suited to smaller independent meat packers and processors who may only need to grade a few carcasses at a time. After uploading the images, the official grade result will be provided within 24 hours by an official USDA grader, allowing the applicant to process and market their beef as USDA Prime, USDA Choice, or USDA Select, and participate in an approved commercial marketing program, such as Certified Angus Beef. For more information, visit ams.usda.gov/RGPbeef.
That concludes the slides. We got some time here if there's any questions.
Did that just say that the results are reviewed by a USDA grader and then given back to the plant in 24 hours?
Correct. Not to exceed 24 hours.
Maybe you caught it in the video there, but in that process, the way it works, we do an onboarding process with those plants, help make sure that they understand the correct process for ribbing, sawing, and then capturing a picture. It can be with any camera, cell phone. It doesn't have to be an approved instrument. And then they upload that image to a website where we have a grader go look at those images, evaluate the marbling, and then send the grade back in an email to that plant for those carcasses. Yep.
I'd like to find out if there are any cameras that are accredited for marbling finders, and if they aren't at this stage, is there why is that? Is there a problem, or what is the difficulty? Thank you.
I would say we don't really recognize fineness is a separate attribute as part of our marbling score assessment here in the US. So we do assess fineness of marbling versus coarseness of marbling in our decision on where that marbling score goes. So it's built into our marbling score itself. So we don't credit a measurement for fineness separate than our overall marbling score.
In that case, can a breeder or an organization publish their own marbling fineness scores? Is there any law against that, or can they do that?
Yeah,
They can do it.
there's nothing against.
So they don't have to be accredited to give a fineness score. Thank you. Okay.
What would be some of the charges that maybe a remote grader would charge? Like, does it take an hour to do it one grade, or is it about a half hour, or do you have any estimation?
It depends on the volume. Typically, we see $10 to $20 a head is going to be an average cost for remote grading.
Is that what you charge the plant?
Correct. So we partner with the plant itself. If that plant or that locker services 20 or 100 producers, that's more for them to break out between their producers. But we work directly with the plants themselves. They receive the bill, and then they can break that out however.
A question on the remote. Now, will we ever see this get down to the custom butcher shops where independent producers don't have a large volume, but we want to get grading done on our beef, that if we get a hold of an MEQ, that we can submit those at a non-USDA butcher shop and get it graded?
Are you talking non-USDA inspected? Yes. There's state inspected programs or state inspected plants that would qualify. Now, if it's done under custom harvest, that's a different. But there is state inspected plants that qualify as equal to USDA inspection, and we can grade those. Now, you don't need, like Derek mentioned, you don't need a grading camera. Just a good image from a cell phone, upload that to the cloud, the grader reviews it, and you send an image back. There's no minimum volume. If you want to do one head, we'll do that. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is there a list of where I can find out in my state where those are not USDA, but they are can be state run? Where can I find those butcher shops?
Which state?
Pennsylvania.
I don't know that one.
Here, we have a question over here. Hello?
I'll have to follow up with you afterwards. I'm not
Okay.
sure where the,
Chad?
I'm not sure of a website that covers that.
Chad, over here. So I'm hoping that maybe you can put a rumor to bed. And that is, if there are any U.S. Wagyu producers who don't wish to participate in the Authentic Wagyu program, the rumor is that that U.S. producer, Wagyu producer, could not use Wagyu on the label because of some USDA live animal specification. So is it true or not true that if we're going to label our beef with Wagyu, we have to register those animals that are going to be slaughtered with the American Wagyu Association?
So you have two separate topics. The live animal specification is used with the certified program, but it also is the breed definition that FSIS, who approves breed claims on labels, they're going to review that live animal specification because that's a standing definition of that breed. So directly to your question, I can't answer that because that's an FSIS. If you're not going to use a certified program or the live animal specification that applies to that, you're going a different route, which is just a product label. And I'm not an expert on product labels. That's FSIS. That one slide I showed you was their guidance document. That's what they use in general for all breeds. Heritage breeds of swine, that's what they're going to use.
So your opening statements, if I understand it, were that the live animal specification, the USDA looks to the breed association for that definition.
Correct.
And so if the association is willing to change the definition, the USDA won't get in the way.
Correct.
Thank you.
So how much time does it take on the processor's end to be able, if I wanted to convince my processor, hey, I'd really like you to be able to have this capability, what would it take on their end to get the processor to be able to do the remote?
Probably,
is it like an hour process, or is it a?
Well, there's actually a process to get them into our billing system. We have to go visit the plant, bring them the materials, because they are going to be a active member with us, an active party for that remote grading. They have some requirements they have to live up to. So there's a person that's going to go out and actually visit with the plant, make sure they have everything set up, make sure they understand what they need to do. To onboard a plant's a couple hours. It's just the schedule, making sure the plant's ready, and then sending somebody to check it out.
Who do they contact to start that process?
On the website, there's actually there's a name and an email address to contact. Otherwise, they can contact me.
Any other questions for either Chad or Dr. Boat, Gracie?
I just have a comment. When you said abundant or very abundant, that had to do with, so you have select, choice, prime?
Yeah, so we have different marbling scores. So for example, our most common marbling score would be slight 0, which corresponds to the minimum amount of marbling for select. And then our next marbling score we call small 0, and that's the minimum amount for low choice. Modest 0 would be average choice. Moderate 0 is high choice. And then the minimum amount for prime would be slightly abundant 0. And then for like the minimum amount for the G162 program would be moderately abundant 0. And then we have 2 additional marbling scores above that for prime currently.
So your meat wouldn't say abundant or slightly abundant or
you-
low abundant?
You could.
I don't like the word abundant.
You don't have to.
It sounds like it's like there's a lot of it
Yeah.
when I don't think there is a lot of it.
Yeah, it's not common for most of the meat that gets labeled usually carries the grade name, prime choice or select. But there are some certified programs that use, for example, certified Angus beef, a lot of programs use what they call upper 2/3 choice. And so in their fine print, they'll say modest 0 or higher. So it's not common for the actual package or the label to have the marbling score, but in the marketing material for a packer to a retailer, that will include the description of the marbling score most commonly. So to a consumer, most consumers won't see those marbling scores, but it's more common business to business type marketing.
So do you see the USDA adding a whole other level then? So select prime, and then
another name, Prime Plus or something?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be defined by the comments that we receive, whether it's,
Y'all's plan was to keep it all under Prime, but it could be a whole.
it could be, I mean, it could be a whole nother grade. I think there's pros and cons to that. You know, there's some recognition already with Prime, and but it's just, you know, who's to say if the majority of the comments we receive say that we need a whole grade that's different than Prime. The only dilemma with that a little bit is then you have to build a market campaign around that to also sell that and get that brand recognition with consumers. So yeah, that's why we make it a public request and follow the majority of the comments that we receive. I mean, that the only work that we've done thus far is just try to take a shot at, you know, if we were to look at kind of continuing our scores and the increments that exist between our levels today, those are the 3 additional levels that we've seen that looks like it might fit in place. But again, it's just kind of a starting place to maybe create some thought and consideration for you all and others out there to decide, does 7 levels of Prime make it too complicated, or should it be another grade? So
what's like your highest DMP?
I don't,
On like
on our best estimate at this point on that highest level would be like a 30% intermuscular fat.
So what if you went to 50 and 60? What if you're producing those?
If you are, yeah, I mean, if it needs to be higher range to get the top end, then maybe we need something higher.
I guess like some of our lowest is your guys' top right now.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that's the whole reason we're looking to add. So we would need your feedback to tell us what level makes it appropriate and makes it a good tool for you to use to segregate.
I mean, we have to work really hard to hit the lowest level. Really hard. Really hard. So we should go above and beyond that and not even start with that. I mean, if our lowest level is your guys' highest level on the USDA grade right now, we need to separate from that and build up the Wagyu instead of tear down the Wagyu. I mean, if we're producing 40s and 50s, not on average, but if we're producing them, then we can't market those with your guys' grades. We can't go 40s, 50s if you guys stop at 30s. So how do we market that?
Please, that's the information we're exactly asking for you to input on.
So we have the same problem. We started about an average of 37%, but part of that difficulty might be, I don't know how you're defining IMF. Is it a chemical IMF or is it a camera grade? And what camera is it?
Exactly, part of the dilemma. You know, that's why we don't necessarily recognize IMF for official USDA grades, because it depends a little bit on your laboratory and your procedure that you go to collect it on. So the best thing that we have to probably base it on is our current marbling pictures as a base, and go from there, because that is the dilemma with those sorts of measurements. It's very lab and study dependent. But I will say also, part of that process is once we do finalize those scores, then we would work with our technology providers that are approved to also train their cameras to hit those exact same measurements.
have y'all done any studies on what the consumer would understand? I mean, because that's really what we need to know. Is it better to, for those next three levels, to make one grade and have a low and a high? Or, I mean, how many levels are they going to understand? We could do a platinum, we could do a sapphire, we could do a gold. I mean, but am I as a consumer going to walk into the grocery store and know which one's better? Have you done any kind of research on how much the consumer can absorb and
We have not.
understand?
We have not.
Just some commentary from Australia. The whole industry is driven by that, or the profitability of the industry and the incentive for genetic improvement is, just like Craig's comments, is being able to separate out performance. So the proposed grading 1300 here, any full blood that's worth its salt is going to make that grade. So you're not separating. Maybe that's fine if you all want your full blood product to sell exactly the same price. In Australia, there's about $3,000 wholesale difference between a bad full blood and a good full blood at a wholesale level, and that's based on that segregation of marbling performance. So it might be something you as an industry consider, because it is actually what has driven the growth of the Wagyu industry, that incentive for profitability from good genetic selection and improvement.
Yeah, to me, looking back in history when our grades were developed in the 1920s, I really would like to know how many of those carcasses hit our current prime level at that time with the feedstuffs that were available. So I think at that time, the foresight of those folks that were putting together the beef standards at that time set us up very well for this 100 years. But to your point, keep that in mind as you're making comments that if we're going to make a significant change here, that we need to make it last for the next good period of time.
Right now, we're grading our carcasses out on DMP, digital marbling percentage. And we're taking 10, 20, 30, 40. And whatever that carcass grades out at, that's what goes on our label right now, currently. We tried silver, bronze, gold, platinum before, and we're told to stop because someone else is using that. But it's worked really well for us because you can show somebody, and your question there, if we go with a DMP or something of that nature, you can explain to someone the DMP is digital marbling percentage, and this is what that level grades at. So if it's a 21 or a 29, you can really hit where you want to hit. 29 is almost a 30. So if a 30 is a higher price, you're going to buy a 29 and save a little bit of money as a consumer. But if you want to sell, you want to sell that 30 or that 40 or even that 50 or 60 if you can get there. But something that they can look at, what's a gold? Is a pearl higher than a gold, or is a platinum? Where are we at? But if we can look at those and say, and come together as a group and say, this is where we want to be. We don't want to be prime or choice or anything like that. We want to be DMP, and you can explain that by a picture, like your guys' graders have to grade off of a picture. They get good enough, they don't have to look at that picture, but when they start, they've got to put a picture up against every carcass. So if we can grade that with a camera or something, we can work on that. But that's the grading we go with, 10, 20, 30, 40. It works really well for us.
All right, we got time for one more question.
I have one. Hitchhiking off what the gentleman just was talking about, I guess my question is, at the grocery store level, right now you just talk about, well, we got choice or we got prime. Can't there be some sort of a grading, like what he was talking about, that the consumer can see that says something like Wagyu Prime 1, Wagyu Prime 2, Wagyu Prime 3, and if there's a price difference between those, the consumer ought to be able to real easily look at, say, oh, Wagyu Prime 1 and it's, $25 a pound, Wagyu Prime 2 is $35 a pound. They can see automatically what that quality difference is and judge from there how much they want to spend. It just seems like what everybody's talking about, we really need more of a delineation on that prime and associate that to Wagyu to make it really unique.
Oh, very good. No, again, all those ideas, I think it's a lot of discussion to have amongst yourselves and figure out what is the best for your group and what can work for our system here in the United States. So I appreciate it. Good questions, and again, we'll be here for next day and a half or so. So happy to have a discussion with you in the hallway or wherever. So thank you.